Welcome to our new episode.
The City That Vanished, the true story of America's lost civilization. Imagine standing in the heart of the Midwest, flat plains stretching endlessly, the air thick with the scent of cornfields and distant rivers. Beneath your feet lies a secret so vast and ancient that it rewrites everything we thought we knew about America's past. Long before Columbus, before the Mayflower, even before the Aztecs built their pyramids, there was a great city here, a city of tens of thousands, with temples that touched the clouds and a society that rivaled medieval Europe. But then, it vanished. No war, no plague, no written record, only earth, silence, and mystery. This is the true story of Cahokia, America's lost city of the sun. 1. The Forgotten Metropolis. For centuries, archaeologists and explorers crossed the Mississippi River near modern-day St. Louis, Missouri, without realizing that beneath the quiet fields lay the remains of a city older and larger than London in 1100 AD. Cahokia wasn't a myth or legend, it was real. Around the year 1050 AD, when Europe was building castles and China was flourishing under the Song dynasty, this land was home to one of the largest urban centers in the world. At its peak, Cahokia covered nearly 6 square miles, housing between 20,000 and 30,000 people, a staggering number for its time in North America. Its people built more than 120 massive earthen mounds, some taller than 10-story buildings. At the center stood Monk's Mound, an artificial mountain the size of the Great Pyramid of Giza's base. And all of this without metal tools, wheels, or beasts of burden. 2. A civilization in the heartland. The people who built Cahokia were part of what archaeologists call the Mississippian culture, a vast network of societies spread across the river valleys of what is now the United States. They were farmers, traders, astronomers, and architects. Their lives revolved around the cycles of the sun and moon, the floods of the Mississippi, and the spiritual balance between earth and sky. At the heart of Cahokia was a massive plaza surrounded by pyramids, temples, and homes made of wood and thatch. The city was carefully planned, streets aligned with cardinal directions, ceremonial spaces aligned with solstices, and neighborhoods divided by status and occupation. To the north of the main plaza stood Monk's Mound, a grand platform topped by a temple, likely the home of a ruler known as the Great Sun. His people believed he was the living bridge between humans and the gods. From his temple, he watched over a society that had mastered agriculture, astronomy, and trade in ways that astonish modern historians.
The people of the sun. Cahokia's power came not just from its size, but from its vision. The city's builders engineered an astronomical observatory known today as Woodhenge, a perfect circle of giant wooden posts that tracked the movements of the sun. On the spring and fall equinoxes, the great sun and his priests would stand at the center as the sunrise aligned perfectly with specific posts, marking the changing of seasons, the times for planting and harvest. It was more than science, it was faith. To the people of Cahokia, the sun was life itself. Their entire city seemed to breathe in rhythm with the cosmos. Even their burial sites were arranged according to celestial patterns. One of the most mysterious discoveries came from a burial mound now called Mound 72. Inside, archaeologists found the remains of a powerful man, laid on a bed of 20,000 shell beads arranged in the shape of a falcon. Around him lay dozens of young women, likely sacrificed to accompany him into the afterlife. It was both horrifying and awe-inspiring, evidence of a civilization capable of both exquisite art and profound violence, bound by a faith that life and death were merely two sides of the same cosmic circle. The mystery of its rise. No one knows exactly what triggered Cahokia's rise, but clues lie in the earth itself. Around 950 AD, a series of environmental changes brought fertile floods to the Mississippi basin. With rich soil, the people cultivated maize, corn, in massive quantities. Food brought population, population brought power, power brought religion and hierarchy. Cahokia became the center of trade, drawing people from hundreds of miles away. Exotic materials from across the continent have been found there. Copper from the Great Lakes, shells from the Gulf of Mexico, obsidian from the Rockies. It was a cosmopolitan hub, a place where languages mixed, ideas traded hands, and faith bound them together. And at night, the entire city glowed. Archaeologists believe thousands of torches illuminated its plazas as drums and chants echoed through the valley. It must have been an astonishing sight, an empire of earth and light in the middle of the American wilderness. The fall and the silence. Then around 1300 AD, something went wrong. The city began to shrink. Temples were abandoned. The grand plazas turned to weeds. Within a few generations, Cahokia was gone. No written records tell us why, but the clues whisper a chilling story. First came deforestation. Thousands of trees were cut down to build houses, temples, and defensive walls. Without them, the soil eroded. Then came flooding, devastating farmlands. There's also evidence of social unrest. Burned buildings, fortifications, rebuilt multiple times. Archaeologists have found human remains showing signs of violence, perhaps civil war or rebellion. And then came climate change. The region entered what scientists call the Little Ice Age, bringing cooler, drier weather that made crops fail. The great city that had once harnessed the power of the sun was undone by the earth itself. By the time Europeans arrived centuries later, all that remained were grassy mounds. The people had scattered into smaller tribes, ancestors of the Osage, the Choctaw, and other native nations who still tell faint echoes of Cahokia's memory.
Rediscovery. When 19th century settlers came to the region, they couldn't believe such mounds were made by Native Americans. The idea that indigenous peoples could build massive, complex cities was rejected. Too advanced, they said. So myths arose that these were the works of a lost race, maybe the Vikings, maybe even survivors of Atlantis. It wasn't until the 20th century that archaeologists finally proved the truth. The builders were Native Americans, engineers, astronomers, and dreamers who had once created a city of light long before European contact. Today, Cahokia Mound State Historic Site is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, one of only a few in the United States, and yet most Americans have never heard its name. The legacy beneath our feet. The story of Cahokia is more than history. It's a mirror. It reminds us that civilizations rise not from technology or conquest, but from belief. From the shared human drive to create meaning, order, and beauty. For nearly 300 years, Cahokia thrived as a living organism, a place where architecture followed astronomy, where power was both political and sacred. And yet, like all great civilizations, it collapsed. Not from invasion, but from within. Perhaps that's the most haunting lesson of all, that progress and destruction often walk hand in hand. Even now, as cars rush down the highways near St. Louis, few drivers realize that beneath the soil lies the ghost of a metropolis, a city built by starlight and sunfire, by hands that shaped the earth into pyramids and dreams. Cahokia sleeps, but it is not dead. Its mounds still breathe with wind and memory. Its spirit still whispers through the fields, and its story, one of mystery, wonder, and tragedy, still reminds us that history is not what we think it is. So the next time you gaze at the horizon and wonder what secrets lie beneath the land, remember Cahokia, the city that vanished but never truly died. Because sometimes the most incredible stories are not the ones we invent, but the ones we forget.